One is I grew up in a very small, isolated farm community. And so I have a deep value system based in the health and well-being of the community. If you don't work together there, you don't make it. And partly because of the kind of isolation and the concept of being in this farm, the whole rest of the world seemed a little strange to me. I mean, unlike most people that grow up in middle-class homes where business practices seem natural, everything looks a little weird. It's like, you know, when you come from a small farm in Indiana, you might just well be from Mars, because everything else in the world is weird. And so, you know, my mother's instruction to me when I went to college, which I think was very instructive, she says, just watch very carefully what they do and stay 1/2 step behind and do whatever they do. And so I became a very studied person of how do they do these things. It's like an anthropologist, right? But an anthropologist to make life work. But what you suddenly realize in this process of doing this, that you're never them. You're always other. And I think the critical theory grew out of the social constructivism, because coming from my community, I knew all this was being made up, right? Because it's different than my world, so it has to be made up. But it's the sense that you're always not them, that you're always different, also led you quickly to see how many groups in our society suffer from the sense that they're different. They don't talk as well. You know, you wouldn't know probably the way I talk today. I was totally a hick. And it was evident in everything that I did, right? And so in this context, what it did was to say, how do I produce a system where people that have smart and good ideas, like the people I grew up with, have an opportunity to be part of the process of deciding this? And from there, you start looking around different places. I didn't begin with looking at this in the workplace. My early work was all done looking at families and other kinds of contexts, where I was principally interested in how do you get collaborative processes going in this context. And I sort of fell into the workplace. People kept saying, but none of these things matter because the dominant institution today is here. Fix the family if you want, but how people work transforms the family. And so the workplace was sort of something emerged after almost 10 years of my career as a place to start thinking these things through. Always with the idea of how do we get this kind of distributed expertise that exists in our society into a context where it can make productive decisions. I didn't come in as a radical, I came into it as a pragmatist. That is, that I want this thing to work, and it has to work, and I know it requires the expertise of all to make it work. How can I get a communication process that makes this take place? But as soon as you start doing this, then you start realizing that power and control and people's needs screw this thing up. And so critical thinking became a way to start investigating what are the vested interests here that keep this rational system of good people making decisions together from functioning.